Imagine waking up one morning, thinking you're building your dream life with the person you love most, only to discover a betrayal so deep it shakes the very core of your existence. This is my story. On May 23rd, 2022, 5:32 a.m., I discovered my wife had been cheating on me. Every morning before work, I would kiss my wife and tell her that I love her. This morning, she was snoring loudly in bed. She had been out drinking and only came back home around 3 a.m. This had been a trend lately, a trend that I accepted because I knew social interaction was important to her. I trusted her and did not want to stifle her. I did not like that she was doing this. But I thought, as a good husband, I had to allow this, as she told me she needed this. I have been working more lately, a lot more. Work had picked up, and we wanted to build a dream house together, a house that had been on hold for years due to permits and complications. I wanted us to be financially secure in these troubling times. I knew my wife was lonely, but we had plans for the future. We had a honeymoon planned, and I thought more time with her friends would be enough for the short term. When I walked into the bedroom, I saw her phone at the edge of the bed. I knew her password, and I wanted to check it. I wanted to confirm that my suspicions were misplaced, that I was being paranoid, and most of all, that I was wrong to ever think my spouse would be cheating on me. I took the phone and I looked through her messages. It only took a few texts to see that there was something going on, that I had been cheated on. I put the phone back where I found it, had no idea how to react, and left the house driving to work. I cried the whole way there. I debated driving my car into a ditch, but I didn't. I arrived at work and I worked. A bit later, I received the daily text I always receive from my wife, about her telling me that she thought I was handsome, that she loved me. I didn't want to deal with this in any way, and I did not want to start this over text. So I replied in kind. And then I cried some more in the work bathroom. Halfway through my day, I received an anonymous text message. Someone reaffirmed what I already knew, that my wife was cheating on me. They did not want to be involved, but cared enough to let me know. It hurt so much knowing that other people already knew, that it was blatant enough and I didn't know right away. I still do not know who sent that text, but I am grateful that someone cared enough about either me or the sanctity of marriage to let me know. Reaching the end of the day took forever, but it came. I cried again on the way home. My wife was at our neighbor's house drinking and having a good time. I drove to where we were staying and texted her to come home. I remember her walking to the front door. So vividly she was fine. There was no pain present, and I knew that everything in our lives was about to change. I told my wife that I had received a troubling text message today. I asked her if she was cheating on me while showing her the message on my phone. She looked directly at me and said, "No." She wanted to know who sent the text, but I did not know either. I then asked her to see her phone. She handed it to me without question and asked me, "Don't you trust me?" "I would never do that to you." She asked me, "Do you really think I would cheat on you?" All while shaking her head in disbelief that I would not trust her. My heart sank further when I looked at her phone. She had deleted all the incriminating messages. There was a brief moment where I believed her. Did I have some sort of delusion of seeing those messages earlier? Was I a bad husband for searching through her phone? I knew I hadn't just made this up. I looked at her and told her that I had read her phone this morning, that she had deleted the texts, and that I knew something was going on. She told me that something was going on, that a neighbor had kissed her, and that she didn't want to tell me because she didn't want a little mistake to become a big issue. I knew there was more to it than that from the texts I had read. I wanted to leave right away. I wanted to grab a bag and go see my parents. I wanted to go be with someone who cared and loved me, but I was in shock. She had lied straight to my face. She had tried to shift the blame on me, and if I hadn't already known the truth, she would have let me feel like I was a bad partner. I feel like she would have been okay with that. We began to talk and agreed we should talk more about this. We have been together for close to 2 decades. It was so much to give up. In between tears, we both spoke about issues we had been dealing with. We cried. We held each other and we spoke more about some of the failings of our relationship. A decrease in intimacy, not prioritizing each other and not feeling wanted. There were so many problems. And honestly, hearing them out loud felt good. It felt good because they were so manageable. But it didn't deal with the cheating and the lying. I took the next day off so we could talk more. When my wife had decided she would start hanging out with our neighbors on her own, we had an upfront and frank discussion. I warned her that men often lacked any form of female attention and showing interest in them. Even friendly interest could quickly lead to non-friendly feelings on their or her part. We both discussed that if any lines were crossed, she would let me know right away and end those friendships before they turned into something that could destroy our relationship. And I believed her at that time. We had discussed so many times if there was anything that could tear our love apart, anything that could ruin our marriage, and we agreed that the only possible thing would have been cheating. She did this, knowing this. She then began to tell me more of the incidents that had been occurring for weeks now. That it was not just her being kissed, but her partaking in all of it as well. She told me that she had told him multiple times that this was wrong, but it didn't stop her from going back. She told me that there was no sex or anything below the belt, and she had told me she had broken off the relationship with him on May 20th. My heart wrenched again, because they were still sending dirty texts in the early morning of the 23rd. Every time she retold the story, it was worse. Knowing that we had just been so open with each other for the past 24 hours and she was still lying to me broke me again. I cried more, but still wasn't ready to let this go. The next day, I tried to go to work, but once I arrived, I needed to leave. I couldn't look anyone in the face without starting to tear up. I told my boss I needed to leave and that I needed the rest of the week off. He gave me the time off without hesitation. This was the first time I had really debated ending my life over this and not just a passing thought. I was in a car. It felt like it would be easy to do, but I didn't want to kill myself. I just didn't want to be alive right now. I cried. I said out loud, "I'm dying and I have no one to talk to, no one to help me." And then I drove back to her. We spoke more. I told her I needed to know the full story about her infidelity. It had been going on for weeks. She had brought him to a birthday party that my parents had held at their house. She had introduced the man she was cheating on me with to my parents. The man was one of my distant cousins. My mom was so happy to see him because it had been years since they last seen each other. This broke something else in me. It made me feel like she felt no remorse for the cheating which had occurred, and it meant so little to her that she would bring this man into the lives of my family. I realized that I could not trust her, that I could not believe her story, and that honestly, she did not feel overly bad about the cheating and lying, that her loneliness and sadness was justification for doing it. It was at that moment I also realized that I was in an abusive relationship. My wife had a rough time growing up. She had been cheated on, raped, lied to. It had never crossed my mind that she could turn into the abuser, but I felt like she had. She had first-hand experience of what awful was, and she was able to perform that evil onto the man she says she loves the most in the world. Because I was not attentive enough. Because I did not make her feel wanted. And because I had not always made her a top priority, I sunk further and old memories surfaced. When we were in university, she had cheated on me then. There was now a pattern, and I had no way to believe or know if more infidelity had happened again between then and now. We kept talking, though. We talked about the changes we wanted to make in our lives, how we both wanted to be better people and exhausted. We fell asleep holding each other. We woke up and began to kiss. We had sex. I knew it was wrong to do this to myself, but I could tell she wanted to feel intimate. She wanted to feel wanted, and at that moment she wanted me, and despite all that happened, I wanted her, and wanted to give her those feelings. We decided we needed to spend some time apart after this. We had a counseling session scheduled for the next Monday, but we should be apart to think clearly and to figure out if we still wanted to be together, if we even wanted the same things in life, and if I could ever get past this. I have next to no close friends, and my parents have always been close to me and my confidants. I said that I would be staying with them, and I knew she would ask me something at that moment, something I would agree to, not because it would help me in any way, probably the opposite, but something I would need to agree to if our relationship were to ever have a chance to continue. She asked me to not talk about the infidelity with them, and so I didn't. I spoke with my parents. I did not lie to them, but I did not tell them the whole truth, and I have been living with them for the past 2 days. Talking about some of our other big issues, me finding out I really want kids, her feeling a burden taken off by not wanting to have them. My parents have shown me nothing but love and support. They have grown to love my wife like a daughter. I did not want them to see her in that awful light. In all honesty, I love my wife, and despite all this, I would never want to hurt her or for others to treat her poorly. That's not in my nature. That is why I am writing this. I needed to tell my story, for it to be heard since I am not ready to tell those in my direct circle. I am still uncertain about what I am going to do, regardless of how obvious all the signs point to leaving each other. And I am hopeful that counseling will help me decide. Despite the sadness and hurt I feel, I want her to be happy, and maybe I cared and still care for her happiness more than mine. All my visions of the future always contained her. I think that's why this is so hard. I know I am blinded by my love for her. It feels awful that being so in love is such a bad thing. Writing this has helped me understand and deal with my emotions and feelings. I hope to write more about this in either private or public. If my experience resonates with you, I would be happy to hear yours and to sympathize and be there for you. If you have read all of this, thank you for listening. Edit. I want to thank everyone here who has reached out, commented, and taken time to provide such thought-provoking advice. Some things I didn't want to hear, but needed to hear. I needed this help, and I didn't know I could get it. Thank you.